Hi everyone, and welcome to the Attaché Report Designer, my first report training webinar. The purpose of this session is to provide you with the knowledge and skills by guiding you through the process of creating a basic report. My name is Ritishka, and today we will go through and create a product information report. This recording is to be used in conjunction with the training guide that is available on the Attaché Report Designer space in our Attaché Help Center. Use this to follow along with this webinar. So let's get started. Before you can access Attaché Report Designer, ensure you have the appropriate license and are using Attaché BI version 3.5 or later. To access Report Designer, choose the Reports menu, Custom Reports, Report Designer, Report Designer. This will then open up our Report Designer tool. To start a blank report, let's click on New. To open an existing report, click on the Open icon. You can choose to open standard Attaché reports for modification. These are stored within the DevX folder located within your Attaché BI program directory. When choosing to modify any standard reports, we always recommend that you choose Save As. So under File, Save As, and store a copy of that report within your Customs folder, which is located inside the DevX Reports folder. This way, as long as they have the same name as the original, the system will look through your Customs folder and it will run your modified version of that report instead. And you always have a backup of the Attaché standard ones in the main DevX report folder. All the custom reports can be accessed through Attaché BI's menu under Reports, Custom Reports, My Custom Reports, Open Reports. We'll talk about this a little bit later at the end of the session. Okay, let's get started with our blank report. Let's start with a new blank report and talk about setting up the report layout. A report is built upon bands, which are sections where report controls are held. These bands represent different sections of a report document, such as the details, groups, report header or page header, and even the footers. For example, we can now go and add the required bands for our product information report. To do this, right-click anywhere in your report and choose Insert Band, and we will first start by adding a report header. The next thing we will do is add a page footer. This is useful for page numbers, etc. Our report band at the top, this will print once on the first page of our report. Our details will print on every page, and our page footer will also print on every page. Once we have set up all our bands, we can then move on to talking about the properties. Now, the property grid panel is located on the right-hand side. So let's just increase the size so we can take a look. Now, this panel is used to change the setting of a selected report element. You can use it to set up the general settings, such as your page orientation, default printer, page size, etc. So to set the report layout options, what we will do is click on the gray space outside our report. Now this will load the ATT report options. Alternatively, we can select the control that we want to modify the settings for using this drop-down. So the first thing we're going to do is go and type in our name of our report. So there are two places you need to enter this. The first is in the design group. So if we scroll down, here we come in and enter in our report name. Product Information Report. When you enter into this field, ensure you don't put any spaces, as this is just the internal reference name. The name that users or people who run the report for them to see will be up top in the behavior display name. Here we can use spaces, so we can come in and we can put our spaces in. As soon as you enter your name in the display field, you can see up the top in our tab, the name of our report will appear. The next thing we will do is add our page number. So this can be done by clicking on the page info item from our control toolbox. That is the toolbox on the left-hand side of the report designer tool. So once we find our page info control, which is the fourth one from the bottom, we can click and drag, and we will place it into our page footer band. What we can do is we can zoom in so we can see our report a little bit clearer. Now, with our page numbers, when we run our report, it will print 1 out of 2 pages, or how many ever pages we have, in this format. What we recommend is changing the format to make it more clearer. For example, we will say page 1 out of 10. To do this, select on the page info control and click on its smart tag. The smart tag is this little arrow that's on top of the box, and it will bring out extra menu options or control settings for this particular report element. In our format field, we can type in the word page, curly bracket 0, close the curly bracket of curly bracket 1. So the system will put the total number of pages in the 1 column and the current page that is printed in the 0 column. You can press enter, and you can see that our page info control is updated. Now what we can do is we can select this, and we will finish the formatting by right aligning it. And what we can do is we can come down to our band, and we will resize it by just dragging it up. This will ensure that it prints on the bottom of the page and there isn't a lot of extra white space printing at the end. The next thing we will cover is binding Attaché data to our report and adding fields to the report. Now, data fields from your Attaché system can be bound to your reports to display their values. This allows you to connect your report to your Attaché data using view models. These are just simplified versions of your Attaché data tables, and they hold important fields that can be displayed on the report. The data tables that have been bound to a report will then be displayed in the field panel list, which is displayed on the top right-hand side. Let's go ahead and bind the product table to our product information report. The first step is to select our tables. So up the top, click on the Tables button. We can then scroll down and locate the tables we require. For this example, we will select the product table, and we can click OK. You can select as many tables as required. Once we have selected our table, we can bind it to the report. Do this by selecting on the smart tag of the report. This is located on the top corner. Once you click on it, select the field Data Member and choose the drop-down. All the tables that you have selected will be displayed here. You just need to select the main one for this report, for this example, Product, and that will display there, and you can click outside on the report for it to be loaded. As you can see now on our field list, we have our product table, and if we expand that, we can see all our fields that we can place onto our report, which is being pulled from our Attaché data. In a report, static and dynamic information is displayed as text. Static information is text or images that are not from a data source and do not change throughout the report. These can be headings and company logos, for example, whereas dynamic information changes through a report as the values are pulled from your Attaché database. So let's go through this next example, and first we will add some static text. So the first thing we will do is add our report name. Now this will be added to our report header band. So to do this, we will select on the label control, and we can drag and drop this into our report header band. We can change the text that is displayed by double-clicking and typing it in. The next thing we will do is we can center it, and you have a formatting toolbar up the top. You can apply various different formats which are similar to Microsoft Word, etc. Now, with Report Designer, we have supplied you with some standard attaché styling that you can apply to your text and data fields. So let's go ahead and apply the ATT style to this particular heading. So once we click on our label, we can scroll down to our property grid and locate under the appearance the styles. If we expand out our styles, and where it says style, there is a drop-down option, and we can click and we can see all the various attaché styles we have given you as standard in the Attaché Report Designer tool. So the one we will choose if we go right down to the bottom will be ATT title. As you can see, it changes the color and increases the size. So we can come in and we can resize our little control, and we can also resize our band. This will ensure that no extra white space is printed below that particular heading. The next thing we will do is add our data fields. In the Field List panel, ensure that the product table has been expanded out to view the available fields. Then the next thing we can do is select a whole group of fields, and we can move them across onto our report in one go. The easiest way to do this is by selecting code first, or the first field you wish to bring along, and then hold down the Control button on your keyboard, and then select all the rest of the fields you'd like to bring along. So I will scroll down and I will choose description, and scroll down, and I will also bring along the stock unit, the unit cost, and the quantity in stock. As you can see, I have 5 fields selected. Now, using your mouse, you can left click and drag those across into your detail band. So these will be our data fields. As you can see, it neatly makes them into a table for you. So what we will do next is we will apply a style. So while all your data tables are still selected, if you have unselected all of them, you can hover your mouse and ensure you have this one arrow icon and select all of them. Or alternatively, you can draw a box around them with the mouse, so it will select all the fields. We can then come down to our styles, and from our drop-down we will apply the ATT text, so it will center them and add a bit of padding as well. So what we will do next is we will add the headings. So we can follow the same method. So click on our first field. Now to add the headings, ensure you select them in the same order that you selected your data fields. So we can click on Code, hold down the Control key on your keyboard, select Description, select Stock Unit, Unit Cost, and Quantity in Stock. Now this time, when you are moving them across to your report, instead of left clicking, you can right click with your mouse and move them across, and we will place them on top of our original fields. Now you may be thinking that they look exactly the same as the fields below, but you can tell which ones are label fields and which ones are data fields because the data field will have a little yellow database icon within them, so you know that they will be pulling in information from the Attaché database. Now, similarly, we will go through and we will select all our fields for our headings and we will format them as well. So back to styles, and we will apply the ATT column heading style. And you can also do various other modifications. So I'll just make it bold and increase the size a little bit as well. The last thing we're going to do before we finish adding these tables is I'm going to select all my fields and I'm just going to resize them to leave a bit of space at the end, and do the same thing with my data tables. This is just so that we have some space later on when we will come and add a barcode to print alongside our product information. You can go ahead and you can resize all the various fields and tables accordingly. For example, you may want to increase the description size if you have a lot of long product descriptions, and similarly you can reduce the size of your unit fields. So you can come in and adjust it to make it look nicer. You can also come in and you can center various fields. You can center some things and left align other things. So I might just left align my description. You can add padding if you want to add extra space. Now, once you're happy with all of this, it's important that you remember to click Save. And by default, it will pull in the name of your report that you've set up earlier, and we can ensure we save it into our Customs folder and click Save. The last thing we will do is we will remove any white space from our detail span. So to do this, just drag that up to remove any of that white space. So that will give us a neater report when we print it. Next, we are going to add some grouping to our report. Rather than having a huge list of all our products, we will group the products based on the product group that they belong to. This is very simple to do in Report Designer. The first thing we need to do is move down to our Group and Sort panel at the bottom of our Report Designer tool. Once you click on that, we'll then get an option to add a group. Click on this, and we will locate our group code field. As soon as we click on that, you can see we have a group header that has been added, and we will also come in and we will tick down the bottom to show the footer as well. This will be used later on for totals. The next step is from the field list panel. Under our product table, we need to select our group code, and we will then come in and drag it into our group header. And we are going to come and put our group name next to our group code field up the top, and we can also expand that out a little bit. We can add an extra label in front of our group code to explain what this particular field shows us. So once I click on group code, I can click on its smart tag, and where it says format string, I will click on the extra options and it will default to general, and where it says prefix, we will type in the words product code. And as you can see, the words product code will print as a label before our group code prints. So I can click OK. And what I can also do is I can apply our styling. So I will hold down my control and I'll ensure that I have selected both those two fields. And I will go to my properties grid, choose styles, style, and select header 3. So you may need to resize your fields, so ensure that you do have enough space for both of them. And now the next thing we will do is, of course, save our report. And because our table heading is currently sitting in our details band, this will print multiple times for every product code that is printed. And because we want this to just print once for each group, what we can do is we can move our table headings up into our group header band. So to do this, select our table headings, ensure that all of them are selected, and you can use your mouse and you can drag them up into this area. So what I will do next is I will resize the group heading band, and I'll just pull it up, and I will also move our actual data fields in the table. We'll move them up to be right below the detail band. And again, just move all our bands so that they're neat and there's not any white space below them. And now we will preview our report. So to do this, click on the preview button down the bottom of our report designer tool, and it will run this report. We have our report headings up the top, and we have our table headings, and all our product information is displayed below it. Once you have previewed your report, you can switch back to our designer mode by clicking on the Designer tab. Now, data fields can also be set to calculate totals or any standard summary functions such as average, sum, count, percentage, or even maximum or minimum. For our report, let's create a grand total of the quantity in stock for each product group. To do this, from our field list panel, let's select our quantity in stock field. And what we can do is we can drag and drop it into our group footer band. Ensure that we align it just below our quantity in stock column. You can resize the field to make sure it matches. You can use the pink lines to align. And the next thing we would do is we can click on this particular field's smart tag, and where it says summary, we will go into the extra options to open up the summary editor. Now here you can choose what your summary functions are, so you've got your various options, so we will click sum. And what we can do is you can choose, so for this example we will choose group, so everything that's within that product group to be summed. Alternatively, you can have it by page, so if you want a total to display at the bottom of each page, it will sum up everything on that one page, or you could have a grand total for the end of the whole report. Once you have done that, click OK, and we can go and do some formatting for this particular field. We can go down to our formatting and we will apply our ATT text. And what we can also do is we can add a border. So we can add a line above this particular field so that it shows that it's a sum. So where it says borders under the appearance, click on the drop down and we will click on the gray bar above it, and that will add a black line above our field. What we can also do is we can just make it bold, and as you can see, sometimes the field may disappear. We can also resize all our other tables if we need more space in order for this particular field to display. The last thing we need to do is reduce our group footer size. Click on that field and we will choose center. Various graphics such as barcodes, images, or watermarks can be added to your reports. For this example, we will add our product barcodes to display a data field that is pulling from our Attaché database, and it will display that numeric field as barcode information. Let's go ahead and add our barcode into this report. The first thing we need to do is we'll just need to add a little bit extra space in our detail band. Then from our control toolbar, we can come in and select our barcode option, click and drag, and we'll place it next to our quantity in stock field. Once we've placed our barcode field, we can come in and we can resize this particular image. You have various different options if we click on the barcode smart tag. What we will do is also untick the show text. And here you can come in and we will bind it to our barcode field. So where it says data binding, we will come and select to expand our product table and choose our barcode field. So now this will pull any information that is stored in the barcode field in the Attaché database and display it as a barcode image. What we can also do is if a product doesn't have any barcode information, we don't want anything to display, so we would like it to just be empty. So what we can do is after selecting the barcode, we can move down to our properties grid and we will locate under the behavior section, there is an option called process null values. If we come in and select the drop down, we will choose suppress and shrink. So we'll hide the barcode image whenever a product doesn't have a barcode in their master file. Once you do that, we can then move our details back up as we have enough space and click Save. We can now come in and we can preview our report. So as you can see that any product that has a barcode will print and anything else that doesn't have one will just print empty. Now sometimes you may get a message saying that the boundaries are too small, so you'll need to resize your table to make room for those ones. And that's how you add a barcode. Now we will talk about adding parameters to a report. This will allow for them to be filtered by choosing what records are displayed on your report. Without parameters, each time a report is run, it will display all the records from the database. You must also add a filter that is linked to any parameters that you have created. You can create a standalone filter that is automatically applied when a report is run, or you can also add a filter that's based on a parameter to allow a user to make their own selections before running the report. The report will then display a parameter panel for selections to be made when you run the report. Let's go ahead and add some parameters for our product information report. The first thing we need to do is in the field list panel, we must right-click on the parameters table and choose Add Parameters. The first parameter we will add is a product range. So this will allow users to select a range of products that they wish to be displayed on the report. So where it says name, we can type in the word product range. Ensure you don't put any spaces for the name, but where you have description, you can use spaces, as this is what will be displayed on the parameter panel. We can select the type. So because this will be a string field where we can choose the name of our products, we will select string and we will select the next three checkboxes. In the dynamic tab, where it says data source, you must remember to select the parameter data. Ensure you don't click the attaché data, but select the parameter data. Then where it says data member, we will come and we will choose our product table. Where it says value member, we will choose code. So that is what we want our parameter to be filtered on. But we also want to display the description for the product so that a user knows which particular product they're making a selection on. We can then click OK. So that has added our first parameter called product range. We will then repeat those steps to add another parameter range for group. So let's go through that now. So right-click on parameter, select those three checkboxes. In our data source, we will choose parameter data. choose our product table. Now the value member, we will select it to be run on the group code, and we will also display the group name. So it makes it easy for the users when they run report, and we will click OK. So that's the first step completed. Now we need to link these parameters to a filter. So to do this, click on the Set Filters button that is at the top of our Report Designer tool, and this will open up our filter editor. So the first thing we need to do is add the filter for the product range. So click on the little plus icon that's next to the and where it says Select Field and Parameter, we can come here and we can choose Product Code. So we want this parameter to be based on the product code. We can leave it as equals, and where it has a little pencil icon, we will click on that, and that will let us select our parameter. So for this one, we will choose product range, and we can repeat those steps for our group range. So click on the plus, equals, you can filter and change the criteria to be various other things. So if you had a date range, you could say the date is not equal to or greater than, or you could have values, so display things where the invoices are greater than $1,000, for example. So click on the pencil and we will choose our group range. And once we have done that, we can click OK. Let's now preview our report. So as you can see, our report no longer previews because the first step is now to select our parameter. So we have our parameter panel, and we can expand that out slightly, and we can see we have a group range and a product range. So the first thing I can do is I can click on that, and I've got a list of all my product master file records, and I can click on the group, and I can see I've got various different groups. Now my report is also including service items. So what I can do is I want to add a filter that will exclude out any service items and only show product items. And I won't make it a parameter option for users to select. It will be applied every time they run the report. So to do that, I can jump back into the design mode, click on Set Filters, and I will click on plus. And now what I can do is I can find where product type, so there's different types of products, so there'll be products, services, here does not equal, and I can enter in a value. So I don't need to click on the pencil, I will just type in the word service and click OK. So now when I run this report, it will only print out the items that are products. So anything that is a service won't be displayed. Now that we have completed our report, ensure that you save it. And what we can do is we will run this report within Attaché BI. So I can exit Report Designer. And to access our new report, I can choose Reports, Custom Reports, My Custom Report, Open Custom Reports. Now, as long as our report is stored in the Customs folder, it will be displayed in this window. So I can see our product information report and I can click on it. And I've got my parameter panel, so I can make a selection. I can select all of them if I want. I could select a few group ranges and click OK and click Submit. So then our report will preview, and then from here I can choose to send it to PDF, to Excel, or send it to the printer. So that ends our session today, as we've gone through and we've learned all the various different functions in order to create this basic product information report. I hope you all have enjoyed the session and have learned something. Please go use all the resources available in the Attaché Help Center. Print out the training guide and follow along and see if you can create this report as well.